Hello, my name is Sam Hill. Welcome to Shaw Live. Shaw Thoughts. Chat myself on the last days of Gene Hackman, an American actor who died recently at the age of 95. The basic mystery of his death has been articulated. He died of a heart condition, complications from severe dementia. But his wife, 65-year-old wife, turned out had died a week previously of a Hunter rodent disease. What was Gene Hackman doing in the week that followed the death of his wife? On that, we can speculate. This case has interested me. The mystery of it, the themes of life, career, the way he died, the mystery, and now my speculation, and maybe people in chat, what happened in that week after his wife had died. He married his wife when he was 65 years old. She was 35 years old. And surely, I don't know if they talked about it or not, but that 30-year-old difference meant a lot, certainly for the future. Certainly, they would have thought that very probably he would die before her. But at the ages of when they married, they were not surely thinking of his demise way off into the future. And long he did live, lived till he was 95 years old. Here he may have been sneaking maybe a hamburger. She had, according to friends and people who knew the couple, taken very, very good care of this actor, Gene Hackman, her husband. Some of the friends reported that surely she kept him living a long life till 95. She was probably from the start concerned with taking care of him. As he aged, she took on surely the role of caretaker more and more. And they were successful, involved in community life in Santa Fe, New Mexico. They had bought some land outside of the city of Santa Fe and built a beautiful house, over $3 million. Mountains surrounding this beautiful property, very private property. How did it come to be that no one had noticed something was wrong, was amiss? Did not the mail pile up to alert authorities that something may have been wrong? I think as this actor aged and became older, frailer, that they became more and more isolated, the couple. They probably retreated more and more into themselves as they got older, as Gene Hackman got much older, 80, 90. And I think they became more and more and more into themselves as a couple, secluding themselves from others. The oldest son was estranged and would be expected to not be in contact. Gene Hackman had 2 daughters. One said they were close, yet neither of the daughters had contacted or tried contact their father, Gene Hackman, for months and months. Why wasn't there a caretaker or someone helping with the care of this very, very large house? And certainly with the care of a man 95, assumed now to have Alzheimer's. The presumption that Gene Hackman had Alzheimer's is very important, I think, in my speculation. Welcome. There's 2 people in chat. Welcome, Brutal Mafia. Welcome, Dutchy. Today, I'm just talking about a subject I'm really interested in, trying to speculate on what happened. I do have a theory. It's come out that his wife died in the bathroom, a place, of course, of privacy. Gene Hackman, what did he do after his wife died in the bathroom? Why did he not contact the authorities or someone for help? So let's presume that Gene Hackman certainly observed in the autopsy with neurology. There is a theory that Alzheimer's has many plaques within the brain. So autopsy, I presume, did establish that the actor had extreme, severe Alzheimer's. Severe Alzheimer's frequently impairs judgments of time and space and leads to a very severe disorientation. So I presume that when his wife went in the bathroom, that was a place of privacy that probably the actor recognized and would not usually, certainly, intrude going into her bathroom. Was it locked or not? We probably presume that that was a place, as I just mentioned, he would not normally just enter and would leave her alone. So, she died in the bathroom, a place the actor would not intrude upon. Assuming he had severe dementia, his time orientation would have been off real time. Sometimes Alzheimer's patients have severe problems with time. A day could seem like a minute, or a minute like a day. But my theory would be that he was disoriented in terms of time, and a week probably was not noticed by him. So in that time disorientation, he probably would not have thought or surmised that it had been a long period of time he had not been with his wife. Privacy issues. Realistically, a 95-year-old man would require some extra help. Sometimes his wife would go out shopping, whatever, and leave him alone. I think they favored privacy, even from caretakers, and she, seeing how older he got, frailer he got, mentally destabilized he got, wanted and chose the role of sole caretaker. And she could have phoned his 2 daughters asked for their help? I think probably not. I think their world became smaller and smaller and based upon routine. Alzheimer's patients require much routine, and he certainly retreated socially from the world as his personality became problematic with dementia. And she, 30 years before, as they would have probably thought about death at first, as the years went on, it was probably accepted that she would care for him. And she took on that role. She had no apparent relatives other than a mother, 91, who had dementia, who Gene Hackman's wife did not contact. So I think those of us, certainly without dementia, more social, in contact with our families, friends, might find it mysterious how isolated these two were. She would go out in the community, but him with severe Alzheimer's, it would be harder, more difficult. So probably their world, the world of Gene Hackman and his wife, became quieter, more isolated. And she, and maybe him, did not want intrusion, even from caretakers, which probably would have been the better idea. They, the couple, surely would have presumed that he would pass first. And he did state he had a concern with what would happen to his wife after he died. It was probably not thought that she would die first, which is what happened. And that's the explanation. I think she was in the bathroom. It was a place he would not frequent, and he may not have noticed she was not there, or he would take note that she was in the bathroom, and the time span noticed by normal people was probably not observed by him. Or maybe he would start to look for her, walk toward the bathroom, forget where he was. I'll go through chat. That's my theory. Thank you for showing up. If chat has any ideas or questions about this story that has captured the attention of Americans, maybe the world, please ask. And I'm interested in the story. I'm not sure much more will come out. There will be issues like inheritance. Already I saw online that the 3 children have been inquiring about inheritance. That's one story that may came out. I think the son was already interviewed. The son had been estranged for a long time from the father. And other details might come out, but I don't know how definitive the story will develop around the week, basically, that the actor Gene Hackman had before he died. "95, in a sense, you can certainly say he had a long, long life. And I'm sure a very accomplished life. Moments of happiness. Look where they lived. He made right decisions. He retired, left Hollywood when certainly his facilities and roles would have been less and less and less. They had a happy marriage. He had experienced family life, though as he got older and older, probably there was less appearance of a family. Did the daughters truly love him? Why didn't they contact him? Well, when people have Alzheimer's, most people retreat. Maybe they didn't want to see their father in that condition. Maybe the wife did not want them around. Those kinds of stories and details will probably come out. Gene Hackman lived a long, appeared to be a fulfilling life. How bizarre was the way that he and his wife ended up dying. And sad, and sad. Surely there was a presumption that he would die before her. She would take care of him till the last. But life intrudes, and sometimes in very bizarre ways. He aged. He retreated. So people who had known Gene Hackman from the screen, who really haven't taken notice, certainly like when I saw this picture, I went, whoa. But realistically, the man was 95, and probably for 95, physically not knowing, we didn't know he had Alzheimer's. Here, he's mobile, he's walking, he's gripping the cup. So it's an old man, but he appears in health enough to walk and drink, and get in a car, maybe sneak a hamburger, whatever that was. But within his mind, we are told he had Alzheimer's. Gene Hackman, 95, appeared to have a good life. It's hard to argue that he died. He certainly didn't die young. The average age of mortality in the U.S. is 74. He was 95. But it must have been terrifying and sad the way that he did die. And of course, his wife died much younger, though 65 is not young. And how bizarre and strange. She died from a very, very rare Hunter virus. Gene Hackman story. What say you? If anything, chat. I'll keep this going as long as there's any questions or comments in chat. Hi, Charlotte. How you doing? Brutal. This was incredibly sad. The bizarre way both people died. I'd never heard anything like it. It was a mystery. Many people had their theories. My theory was wrong, but who could have predicted Hunter virus, the death of his wife? Certainly, his death was predictable. He had a history of heart problems, and a man 95 is liable to death at any time. Certainly one with a heart condition. So the life was not sad. The way of the passing was. He seemed, as we know from the press or friends' accounts, to have been a good man, helped his community, painted, wrote books. One story was reported that there was a man, maybe a plumber, maintenance, who said he was sorry he couldn't appear and help Gene Hackman because his truck had broken down. So hearing that, Gene Hackman went out, purchased a new shiny truck, and gave it to the worker. Hey, Dutchie. Hello, Mimi. Long time no see. I'm very interested in Gene Hackman, this story. So I have an hour. So I've come on here and I've given my theory. And I'm just finishing up now, reading comments in chat. Those who have shown up. So far, no comment. Oh, there's a comment about Gene Hackman. Gene must have been very frightened and confused during that week on his own. I have been around somebody suffering Alzheimer's. I have a very large family, and one woman developed it. And I'd be around sometimes and see her. Very, very sad. Sometimes she wouldn't know where she was. And indeed, she forgot who I was. And she was an aunt. And we had a good relationship. And sometimes she would have moments of lucidity. Like she'd understand, she'd recognize the face, but other times she wouldn't. Did she appear very frightened, even though it was a familiar setting? She knew the people. She was around loved ones. Yes. There wasn't, that I saw, and I saw her through the years. I think it took a few years, and she finally did pass away, basically from dementia. Very sad, something hard to talk about, but people around would say, she doesn't know who I am, kind of what's the point? So one has to be very giving and generous, even though the relationship is not the same. So was he frightened in a horrific way? Probably. Confused? Probably. Could he provide for himself? Did he remember where the refrigerator was? Did he start to prepare his food and then forget? And surely he was feeling, where's my wife? She was a constant. They were isolated more and more, but they were together more and more and more. And he, of course, depended on her so much. So that's surely the sad ending. Unpredictable, but there you go, life and death. Good comment. You're right. They shut themselves away. And love was enough for her. And for him, that was his mountain of glory, his wife. So yeah, I think they shut themselves away. She would go out, but he probably certainly did at 95, spend all, if not most of his time in that very big house, surrounded by nature. Was he aware of his own children? We don't know. Those stories will come out, right? Why didn't people contact them? Why didn't the daughters phone, even though maybe they thought their father wouldn't recognize them or it was hard? One daughter said she was close to him, but then if she was close to him, why didn't the daughter, there were two, contact him? So those kinds of stories will come out. The main mystery solved. After she died, he probably walked around confused, had terrible emotions. Still, why didn't people notice? Were the lights out? Cars not going out? Because they probably isolated them, and I reckon she did not want to help her. She wanted to be that soul star. Their life seemed very happy, and she was probably terrified. Having this virus, didn't get it checked out. The virus appears with flu-like symptoms. So one imagines she thought she had the flu and it was getting worse and worse. Probably waited too long. A lot of people deny or think they have the flu, and, oh, I have the flu, I won't go to the hospital. The tragedy is not so much that he died, he was 95, but the way he ended, the way his life ended up. With her symptoms got worse and worse, but probably she didn't understand what was happening. And information will come out, did she go to the doctors or not? But the facts, their demise, happened. Now the aftermath, the children, people will still try to determine what probably happened. And I will follow this case. It still interests me for a lot of reasons. There are many ways it could have happened. Well, we know that through autopsy, what she died from, we don't know and have to speculate what it was like for him. Why didn't he seek help? And there, people will come up with Alzheimer's. Did he find her in the bathroom? There, I imagine, they'll look for fingerprints. I would speculate he probably never went in. The bathroom is a private place. And maybe he started to go there and forgot. We'll never know. But it must have been terrible for him. And that's the sad part, of course. How can one really be sad if a man or woman lived to 95 years of age? But the ending is not one any of us would want. The wife passed away from, I think it's called Hunta virus, caught by rodents, but it's so rare that speculation at first did not involve that she had that. And the autopsy, whatever, discovered specifically what she died from. And that is passed by rats or mountain deer, but it's not passed person to person. So he did not have it, she did. Quirky, awful twist of fate. Twist of fate. Apparently they're saying it was a sudden passing of his wife. But I heard once it got into the lungs, it would probably lead to death within 48 hours. But was it sudden? Surmised the disease or virus has flu-like symptoms. So she probably developed flu-like symptoms, thought it was the flu, and then apparently this virus can damage and kill very quickly. Yeah, I talked about this, Charlotte, that I'm sure she never thought they'd go before him. 30 years difference. He was 65. He had been married with kids. She was 35. She's described as being a classical pianist, but she didn't make money enough to support herself. He met her in a gym. She was working in the gym. So the fact that she was employed, financing herself through a job in the gym, showed that she was certainly not proficient enough to have financial means to not work another job. So I don't know how far her career went. I don't know how talented she was, but that was her interest. And there was probably music always. She probably had a passion for music. I think I read friends, they would go over and she would play the piano. She appears to be of maybe Japanese ancestry, living in Hawaii. Doesn't appear to have any family. And friends seem to be friends of the couple. So she may have been very, maybe introverted, though she was a force, and not have a circle of friends she confided in. I never heard that he had Alzheimer's, so that may have been kept very closely. That might have been one reason for their isolation, that the two of them or one of them did not want a social situation. Certainly once Alzheimer's got it. Did he know he had Alzheimer's? We'll find out all that information probably. People will probably come forth. And what was his social activity like the last weeks? Did he go out? We don't have many pictures. We have the picture infrequently taken. So there'll be an aftermath of details, which I'll be interested in at some point. I'll stop following the story. Certainly, he looks like a 95-year-old man, but positively, he's not in bed. He has hunger enough to eat. He's able to eat solid food, but the face shows the ravages of time, certainly. But a mobile 95 in the community, eating, which is probably better than most people who survive to 95. Beautiful home, loving wife. Doesn't appear to have much contact with his two daughters, and very little, if any, with his son. All in all, seems like a great life with a bizarre and sad passing. I'm just reading the rest of the comments, if there are any. When I heard the story and heard a dog died in a crate, they had two other German Shepherds who were alive, but they found one dog dead in a crate. And I think it turned out that the wife had taken the dog for some kind of animal procedure, and that might have been the reason he was in the crate. Just horrific, thinking anyone died probably of thirst or food starvation. Terrible, huh? Hi, Presley. How are you? Shaw. We don't know what kind of communication his children had with their father. Correct. But there's no indication they were estranged. Probably when the will comes out, we'll know more. For instance, if he left both daughters out of the will, that says a whole lot. If they're not left out, that speaks to a relationship between them. So those details will come out. And then probably there'll be litigation regarding the will. For instance, if the daughters were in the will at one point and then they were taken out, the daughters could argue that Gene Hackman had Alzheimer's and was not in a capable state of processing the will. And if he took out the daughters, he wasn't in a state where legally he was capable. But we'll know if the daughters are still in the will, that will say a lot. But the son is very likely will get a lawyer and press for litigation. And sometimes, most times, there's a settlement after a time. So will I be interested in the litigation? No, I won't. But I'm interested in theories or facts that speak to what happened concerning his Alzheimer's, his later life, the relationship, his mood states, etc. But I'm not really interested in the money, the litigation, those kind of parts. Yes, and in cases, new partners do gatekeep. Well, they had 30 years of marriage, and probably more and more when he became more disabled, because when they moved to Santa Fe, New Mexico, they were actively involved for many years in the community. So what changed? Well, Alzheimer's would be part of it. And just the natural slowing down of age, great age, 80, 85, 90. There was, I think, a celebration when he turned 90 in Florida, and there were people around. After he turned 90 in that 5-year period, I don't know. I'm interested. We'll see. So the basics of this story is over with, but I'm still kind of interested. This was a very, very good actor. I liked him in many movies. Didn't reach superstardom, but he reached high. 2 Oscars, respected, great movies. People saying hello. Very sad. He had a lot of health issues. Like, who doesn't? Who wouldn't if they reached 95, right? And here Presley is giving a specific. The wife died of rodent hantavirus too. Oh my God. Who would have predicted? Life can be like that. The dog passed. They had 3 dogs apparently, and 1 dog in a crate passed, died. In a horrible way. Locked in a crate, getting thirsty, being hungry. The Gias had been recovering from surgery, and that's why she was crazy. Yeah, I mentioned that before, right? One of the dogs. 2 other dogs, I think, were found alive. I think they were German Shepherds. This is a detail or a question or mystery many people have been talking about. Why wasn't there care? Why wasn't there a regular maid? Well, sometimes people can't afford to, but they had Gene Hackman and his wife millions of dollars, so there wasn't a financial grounds. So we speculate. Ideally, there should be a fallback situation, like what happens if the caretaker becomes sick? Well, caretakers don't get a lot of consideration, really. The presumption is that won't happen. But in an ideal world, there should have been somebody else checking in. One would presume the children would. They didn't. What about the mail I brought up? Actually, someone in chat somewhere said they were in a case where somebody was dead inside the house. 3 days the mail pile up, and the person from the postal department saw the piling up mail and then contacted their superior, who contacted authorities. So why weren't there indications in a week? Nobody noticed. Probably Gene Hackman and his wife, became more and more and more isolated. And we're in that emotional state of just living life with each other, basically, and getting closer. And he certainly would become dependent, totally dependent on her. 95, Alzheimer's, bad heart. She was 65 with a thyroid condition, but other than that, apparently healthy. Living to 95 is a great accomplishment. Living probably past the average age of mortality, 74 in America, is above average. 95, I don't know the percentile of people, of men, because women live longer. You would guess it would be rare. 1 in 100, 2 in 100. Rise up to this mystery. This isn't about drama, and I don't expect that many people watching. So, but thank you, the people who are. I have an hour or less. If I finish chat, thank you for watching, and I'll go off. I'm interested in this story, and I hadn't heard people specifically mention that her being dead in the bathroom brought up any kind of dynamic or issue. But then I was thinking, well, that's one place he knew not to enter, right? And in Alzheimer's state, memory of the mundane come to the fore. but unusual circumstances would be problematic for somebody with extreme dementia. So I do think her being in the bathroom may have been a reason that he might never have found her. Again, fingerprint, etc., will determine that. That would be my guess, that because she was in the bathroom, he was in a demented state and did not cross into where the bathroom was and knock on the door. Was it open? Enter. But we'll find that out. But that would be an explanation that, and maybe, I don't know if that's good or not, because is it a good thing that he didn't discover his wife dead? If he didn't, horrific any which way, but dementia is, right? People in the best circumstance with loving people around them cannot cure. They can soothe, maybe. There's probably ways, maybe say a wife might take the arm and rub the arm. So I've observed one person in my family had it. I've read about it. Hopefully, you would think at some point there'll be a cure. I read that that all the focus on curing dementia may have followed a false paradigm that plaques in the brain were responsible. Skeptics have recently come up and said, well, if that's true, if plaques cause dementia, why do they find plaques in autopsy of dead people who don't have dementia, who never demonstrated dementia? So that may be true because 30 years of research has turned up so little remediation based on the current theory that Alzheimer's is cured, not cured, but is caused by plaques. And I'm expecting in the future there may be research that says Alzheimer's has a different causative factor, which would be good because based on this theory of plaques, there has not been great strides. There's no cure. I think there's one or two drugs that alleviate, that maybe stop the progression, but 6 million Americans or more have it. This is a good fact. His estate, how much was it worth? Approximately 80 million. Yeah, so money was not a factor. Probably their world became more and more isolated, and she had always, there was always expectation, 30 years difference, that she would become his primary caregiver. Why weren't there others with all that money? That's speculation. I speculate they didn't want anyone else around or to be part of their world, that their world became him and his wife. His wife would go out, groceries, etc. This is not about me, Shaw. not about me. I look after myself, and I look after my wife, and I look after my kids, and my mom's looked after, but I would never go 2 months without checking in with my mama. But they had exceptional money and circumstances that they could isolate. But with all that money, why didn't they have a maid come in once a week or a caregiver? I think she wanted to be solely there for him, and he was in a state, at least toward the end, of giving reasonable judgments. Maybe they had conversations way before this. We might find out because apparently he wrote letters. So when was the last letter? That would at least state and show that he had cognitive ability to write the letter. So we don't even know how severe the Alzheimer's was. And was it based on a neurological autopsy? Well, I just mentioned that some people speculate that those plaques are not determinate. but I'm no doctor. Those things interest me, right? The things we don't know. And we're not connected, certainly personally knowing him, but there's a connection to these archetypes or people through movies and books. There's an identification, and we know most of us, we're not related. He's not our friend, but there is a connection to some actors, and especially somebody like him, because he was approachable. He didn't have those good looks. He had the kind of looks and maybe the personality that one could walk up and talk to, opposed to superstar, brilliant looks. He had that everyman quality, and he had menial jobs. He came up the hard way, so it seems like he would have been approachable. So an actor like him is more relatable, and I care more about him knowing that, yeah, we know him from movies and maybe press clippings. There is a connection, just like we're connected with our heroes, with our sports heroes. But we have a connection, right? Even spiritual. I've never known Moses, but I love his story. You get the idea? Hey, Mike, how are you, Mike? Does he have children? Two older children, obviously. I think obviously he was 95. Although, do 90-year-olds have children? I think there's this actor, Tony Randall, who was maybe 70 or 80, and he married a young woman in her 30s, maybe. They had a child. Was it Tony Randall's biologic child? I thought it was, but I don't know. So what I'm saying is, probably most 90-year-olds aren't capable of biologically having even sex. Maybe I would, but I don't know for sure. But he does have two daughters and one son he's estranged from, and we'll probably be hearing more about that. Those interested, certainly when the will comes out, right? Apparently, even on the day she passed, his wife was out and about. That's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, actually, she was about because she took the dog, apparently the one in the crate, to the veterinarian. So she was in the car, she was driving, and she was able to drive. So we'll probably find out how that did it happen suddenly. She probably had flu-like symptoms, but why didn't she go to the doctor? She probably wasn't aware. She probably thought she had the flu. And we'll hear those details. 3 children, correct. People with Alzheimer's need a lot of care. They wander and get confused. Or not. Certainly, as the Alzheimer's progresses, right? And I'm trying to remember this one relative. I think there was talk about sundowner syndrome or something that happens at night, that I think this relative would get up at nighttime and wander around, or it's hard to read about for me that people suffer that. But Alzheimer's reminds us, when people complain about the power of memory, well, we are memory. That's our personality, and we know how critical it is. Just watching people with Alzheimer's who lose all apparent memory, they're not the same. It's like memory is our soul, so to speak. So we are our memories, and these people with Alzheimer's aren't recognizable even, because it affects their personality, their memory, obviously. So, good comment. Thank you. His stomach was empty, but he wasn't dehydrated. So he probably knew where to get water from. What about food? We don't know, but his stomach was empty. But he died apparently from a heart attack, maybe. That's what I'm reading about. We'll see. It's maybe he lost his appetite. Maybe elderly people don't have an appetite. He probably required his wife, "Oh, it's time to eat, Gene," or maybe there was a schedule because Alzheimer's people need mundane schedule, not anything new. So there was probably a routine, but she was gone. His caretaker, his lifeline to life was gone. Physically, it's hard to, the man reached 95, but emotionally, it's hard to think about. Apparently, there was water he accessed. Not apparently, if he wasn't dehydrated. That might tell us some things too, because again, fingerprints, that'll probably give detail. Where do you get the water from? Do you get water from the refrigerator, etc.? Those little details of life. If you don't provide care to elderly who need it, it's a crime. And this story, I think, will save lives, because people hearing about this will say, wait, maybe I need to maybe I need to phone my grandfather that I haven't heard from in a couple months. So lives will be saved. Then there's a question up. Somebody asked, is it a good thing that people live to 95? Well, I think the answer is self-defining. If the people have the wherewithal, say a 90-year-old, to answer that question, do they want to live? Do they want to live? But generally, as a society, do we want to encourage end-of-life possibility? Oregon has legal suicide with a protocol. Some people who wanted to end their life, maybe through terminal cancer, pain, would fly if they have the means to Switzerland, right? But obviously, the poor are affected, just like with abortion. That if you live, and I'm not giving you my view on abortion. I'm just talking the way it is. That if someone's born, I would assume Alabama does not permit abortion. I don't know. I just assume that. So if somebody, let's say that a woman's 55 gets pregnant. I knew a woman who got pregnant at 50, and she had 4 kids, and they don't want the child. So they choose to have an abortion. I'm not giving my opinion, but they can't. Well, if they have money, they go to another state. But what if they don't have the means to go to that other state? So all these concerns. But in a sense, I'm sure lives will be saved, because people knowing the situation, that will ask, why wasn't he contacted? Maybe the daughters loved their father very much, but he did not recognize them. I think they still should have checked. I assume they should have checked in any circumstance. The boy, not a boy, a man now, estranged, that would be different. So people knowing the story, some of them with elderly loved ones, probably will contact because of this story. I am ending this in 7 minutes. Thank you for leaving comments. If I don't finish, I'll go back later and check the comments. I do appreciate it. I like doing other things too. If I did this and 2 people are watching, that would encourage me. But I also like the idea of doing other stories outside our little world, but also including a story within our world, and balance that with chat. I think that would be good. Her being that much younger than him, she assumed he'd go first. Yeah, I mentioned that. That would be a natural presumption. But when he was 65, that would be so far in the future. But as he got older, I would think they had those discussions. But he did, in a letter, say that he was concerned that he would go first, and concerned with her. Because if she thought, or it was reasonable for them to think that she might die first, they probably would have been more prone to having a helper in the house, etc. It's so bizarre. Who would think? Hantavirus. And usually, not all the time, in an accident, you can die. But in most cases, there's some kind of warning, like sickness, If she didn't take him to a doctor or hire nursing care, well, there's no one saying that they had help within the home. She probably took him to doctors. Well, I would assume there was medication for him, so the medication would come through a doctor. When was the last visit? We don't know. But one would think that the stress, the horrific emotional extremity of not having her there would have led to the heart attack if he had one. That would certainly not help. Also, maybe not having food. We don't know how long he didn't have food, but he was prone. He had heart disease. He wasn't prone, and probably if she hadn't died, I shouldn't say probably, good chance he would still be alive. I agree. Even so, this is a lesson. Even 15 people watching, maybe one or two of you might have an elderly relative and be reminded, go phone and check up on them, etc. Even someone who was calling each day via phone, because maybe the wife would have been pressed or pressured to go to a doctor. Yeah, you have flu, but you want to be sure. I think the mortality on the HANA virus is 40 to 50% mortality. But it's probably lower because she had the financial means to go to a doctor. She was beginning elderly, but 65. So there's better chance that she would have survived if she had gone to the doctor. We don't know that she did not, but if it was Hanta, one would assume she would have been in hospital. She did take him out, but I suppose she thought she could manage. And in this picture, was she driving? Let me put up the picture. Where is it? What was he by the window? Surely he wasn't driving. Who was driving the car? Is that a hamburger? Because in one picture that most people have seen, in this picture, I saw a picture where to the right she was. There was mention that sometimes he was on a strict diet, but he would sneak out and get a donut. But I think she was in the picture. So I would imagine he went out occasionally, but in prepared, scripted, controlled situations. There was no word that he had Alzheimer's. Maybe people around him really protected his privacy. That'll all come out. Yeah, it presents as flu, and it's so rare. Even if they went to the doctor, I don't know if there would have been a testing for that. Probably all these details in media will come out if you care. Gene Hackman, mystery surrounding his death. Most of it is cleared up, but his wife died a week before in the house. He had apparent Alzheimer's, and I don't know if we can be sure about that. Because again, autopsy presumes that there's plaques in the brain, but that presumption might be wrong, that it causes Alzheimer's. Because the theory of Alzheimer's has been disputed recently, which is huge. Because if the plaques are not the cause, 30 years of research, billions of dollars, 30 years of time that could have explored other remedies could have been avoided. So we have to be careful, don't we? Well, eventually, surely, they'll find out what causes Alzheimer's and have treatment. How long, right? We don't know. Maybe AI will speed up the process. 6 million people have Alzheimer's. Surely a lot more do. That there are situations that it's not reported. Maybe it's just handled within the home. Maybe the people don't go to doctors. Maybe it's misdiagnosed. Certainly, old age is a factor. Even though there is some early I forget what it's called. People can get Alzheimer's in their 30s or 40s. There's a movie made about that, but that would be rarer anyway. Sam is spending a significant amount of time, well, that's wrong, not a significant amount of time, contemplating his own mortality. No, I don't like to think about it. Most people don't. They researched and showed that most people can only handle a couple minutes thinking about death. A lot of the elderly do. I'm not elderly, but death is a theme in our culture, any culture. People we love die. I've been to funerals. But your presumption is wrong. And I'm not old like Peter O'Toole looking. I'm young Peter O'Toole. So fix it, dummy. But thanks for coming here. I like your name. Mike, say hi to Brandy. Well, they're married. Kiss your wife. Presley, pretty cool comments as usual. Right to the point. Taking care of a confused adult alone 24/7 is extremely difficult, one can imagine. And especially if you have money, right? Especially if you have money. But I think she wanted to be a sole person around him. Hanta, yeah, that's probably the correct spelling. I have heard of it, but never heard of anyone having it. Makes sense. Boy, Mike, no, Mike. This is not, don't bring in Northern Ireland politics. This could be me in 18 to 20 years. I really think, Russell, in 20 years, there'll be a cure. There'll probably be something else. Hopefully, the world survives. So no, I would presume that it will be cured within that time. But if I live to 95, that'd be cool. At some point in the future, they'll figure out how to stop aging. They will. Again, we don't know how long. And people saying hello to Russell. Check out Russell on HB Prime 200. Russell is off and on with Hostbusters. Russell's always good on air. Anytime he wants to come on Shaw, open invite. Shaw, thank you, Russell. USA, all the way. God bless the United States. My country, our country, but if you're watching from UK is a cool country, democratic. Australia, I want to go to. Hopefully I do at some point. I think those two countries, occasionally people watch from there. I don't think they watch from Ukraine. And maybe there's Americans in Panama. That'd be cool if people watch. New Zealand, a couple times people have watched. All democracies, all great countries. Hey, Russ. How far back in chat? Wow, am I back in? Very few people were in chat. Not that many people are watching, but I need to even speed up here. Thank you for showing up. Ruru, I really like Ruru. I haven't seen much of her. I think she was in the chat. Is her channel still go on, Ruru? I'd love to be on with you at one point. Yeah, 30 years, right? Very, very rare. But she was 35. It wasn't like she hadn't had possibilities. I don't know if she was married or not. They didn't have children. Again, he was 65. 65-year-old, most are capable of children. But probably they had their great love story. True love, certainly. And then it became friendship. And then it became dependence. And then it became everything. The two of them. I went over an hour. Sorry, I got to end this. Thanks, Mike, for showing up. Thank you, Shaw. Good comments. Thank you, Russell. Always a pleasure on air or in chat to have Russell and Mike too. Thanks, Mike. good comments. If you're interested, come back on replay. It'd be cool for me and Shaw if you made a thumbs up. If you're not subbed, I've had great guests, and I want to try this format of talking about our little world, talking about myself, but also talking about things that interest me and other people. People are fascinated with this story. Just look at the coverage, because we all can relate to it. We all have elderly relatives. We're all headed in that direction. We are all going to get old, hopefully. How we die. Love. This is a love story of 30 years. It ended positively, except the end. For 30 years, they loved each other, took care of each other. Friends say that because of her taking care of him, he lived long. But the ending, oy vey, what a shame, sad, and real. One final comment, and then till we meet again. Thank you, Cece. Yours will be the final comment. There's only a couple more, but I do need to leave. It is a shame that they liked their privacy, and they were able to keep their privacy, but their death is all over the news and internet. I guess at least they don't have to deal with journalists. Yeah, I mean, they don't care. Hopefully they're in heaven, right? But I'll come back to a point on a positive note. Because of their death and circumstances, many lives will be saved, because I just know people will say, I need to contact my grandfather, or even my father, or somebody very sick. Thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands, will not now contact those loved ones, and those loved ones will appreciate it. In some cases, them contacting their loved ones will result in saving some of these people. Like, you need to go to the hospital now, or you need to have that checked out. So from the horror of the circumstances, there will come good. Saving lives. Their circumstances, certainly it was horrific for Gene Hackman not having his wife there for a week, or having her dead. But their death results in saving of so many lives. Be well, everybody. Till we meet again, my name is Sam Hill.